afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Kevin.
It was back in 2009 that the then Pennsylvania Treasurer had issued a market study report that analyzed top-tier markets throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that if and when future casino licenses were made available, that where they would be most economically viable. And that market study at the time listed York County among the top future locations. That was back in 2009. Fast forward to January 10th of 2018. Many individuals across the Commonwealth, ourselves, several in this room included, watched a live feed of the first public auction of the recently legislated Category 4 mini casino licenses. We watched Penn National Gaming win the bid for the first of such licenses for a bid price of $50 million. There were a host of reasons we were excited to watch not only Penn National win the bid, but also win the bid for the proposed location in York County. And since winning the auction for this mini casino license in York County, our community has worked very closely with Mr. Jeff Morris and a team of professionals from Penn National Gaming, evaluating potential casino locations, discussing the future workforce needs, and really understanding all of the aspects to the local economic impact. For those that may be unaware, Penn National Gaming is a Pennsylvania-based company that calls Wyomissing, Pennsylvania home in neighboring Berks County. If anyone has been to Hollywood Casino to our north or off-track betting along Route 30, I saw Henry Nixon there earlier today, you stepped into once a year I get to do this, you stepped into a Penn National-owned facility. Little time elapsed after the auction before we really had a very healthy correspondence with Jeff and the entire PNG team and began the process to really educate and inform York County and the entire community about Penn National, the gaming industry, the site selection process for this first mini casino in Pennsylvania. As Jeff will talk about in more detail, this new casino will be about over $120 million development project. It will create approximately 75 construction jobs through the process, 200 full-time positions upon opening. The occupations inside the casino vary beyond just the table game dealers that we often think of, but food and beverage staff, security, human resources, marketing, IT, and certainly administrative support positions. The average full-time employee will earn $45,000 with benefits. Penn National offers a bevy of in-house training and professional development opportunities. We're aware of a couple firsthand that we got to witness, I'll mention in a second. Springersbury Township, as the host municipality, we have a couple, at least Ben Marchand from Springersbury Township here, as the host will receive 2% of the gross revenue from the new casino slot machines and 1% from the table games, which is estimated to accumulate approximately $1 million in annual revenue. Beyond these numbers, all of these statistics are lives and families that will be impacted. We recently led a delegation from York up to Hollywood Casino. Thank you, Rabbit Transit, if anyone, Jenna or Rich are in the room, for helping to caravan us up. We led a host of individuals up to Hollywood Casino to tour, and then had a discussion on workforce development and how we will meet the needs of these positions that Penn National will be hiring imminently. We met several employees across the gamut of the service industry. One such individual is a veteran who's recently come back from tour of duty and was employed and is moving up the ladder in Penn National. We really got to have a good conversation with that individual. Penn National will have a positive economic impact on our community and most certainly at the York Galleria Mall. Working through the Yorktown Hotel project with the Industrial Development Authority, as many of you are aware, we've determined that there is a significant need for the hospitality curriculum in central Pennsylvania to certify and train future employees to work not only in the Yorktown, but credit to Penn National Gaming for noting that this curriculum can likely work well for the casino industry. And Penn National has been committed to working alongside the York County Economic Alliance to develop such programming. So with us today is Mr. Jeff Morris. He is the Vice President of Public Affairs and Government Relations for Penn National Gaming. Mr. Morris is responsible for Penn National's government and public relations at the federal, state, and local levels. He represents the company in the development of gaming facilities in new jurisdictions. Locally, Jeff has been instrumental in connecting Penn National Gaming to the York County community. Jeff plays an active role in Penn National's charitable foundation and serves as the president of the board for Mary's Shelter in Reading. Prior to joining Penn National in 2012, Jeff worked in public affairs and public relations for over 10 years in Washington, D.C., in both the public and private sectors, and spent time working on Capitol Hill for a United States Senator. He has considerable political and corporate public affairs experience and an extensive track record in campaign management across the U.S. He has a Bachelor of Arts degree in political economy and political economy and history, that's quite a major, from the University of Hartford in Hartford, Connecticut. He resides in Spring Township, Pennsylvania, and was just in Boston yesterday where he got to see so many New England Patriots fans, of which I know everyone in this room shares disdain. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Jeff Morris.
Thank you, everybody. I have to say, I've been to a lot of Rotaries, and 25th is definitely not. You're number one. I've never seen a Rotary this time. So, thank you very much for having me today. What I thought I'd do is I'll go through a little bit about who Penn National is, a little bit about our Hollywood Casino at Penn National Racecourse, and then we can dive into what's going on here in York. So first, about Penn National. We started as a single racetrack right up the street where our current Hollywood Casino is in 1972. Since then, we have grown exponentially, and in particular, in just last year, in October, we closed on a deal for Pinnacle Entertainment for $3 billion, an additional 12 facilities. We currently have 41, and this video will show you a little bit more about where we operate. Not too bad for just a single track for a company that's still based here in Pennsylvania. We are actually the only gaming company major gaming company based outside of Las Vegas. We're very proud of that. As you saw on the slide, we get about $5 billion annual revenues and over 30,000 employees nationwide. We really stand by a number of core values to our company. First and foremost, we are an entertainment company, and we aim to provide an excellent experience for our customers. As you have seen and may know throughout the country, you can now go to a casino pretty much within an hour or two where everyone lives. And so the importance of providing a guest a time that they will not forget is imperative, and we're really proud of that. Work happy. I think most of you here in the business community recognize how hard it is to bring in employees these days. And so we want to ensure that we have all of the best programs available for our employees, and that's been proven by, we've been chosen as the employer of first choice with Bristol and Spectrum Gaming, those who target our sector. A commitment to diversity. It is very important for us as we operate as far east as Bangor, Maine, all the way to New Mexico, Las Vegas, Mississippi, Missouri. We really want to reflect the communities in which we operate. We're very proud of our commitment, and we have over 50% of our employees as females and minorities throughout the country. A commitment to community. With all of these properties, our decisions to support local organizations do not come from the corporate office. They actually come from the property level, which we will also see here in York. And of course, a commitment to responsible gaming. It is widely known that there are folks out there with problem gaming. It is obviously a number one priority for us. All of our employees are trained to identify and then address these issues. And we work closely with both Pennsylvania gaming regulators and others across the country. A little bit about Hollywood Casino Penn National up there in Harrisburg. It's a $400 million property. It opened in 2008. We have about 900 team members, 2,000 slots. It tells you about 4 times the size of what we're expecting here in New York. We've paid about $1.6 billion in taxes to the Commonwealth. And you can see the numbers there. $156 million has gone to the local share, close to $340 in salaries, and $13 million in annual local, state, and vendor spend. A little bit on that community involvement. There locally, we've donated $3.75 million for IBD research at the Milton Hershey Medical Center, and then about $1.32 million goes to local and regional charities. And the American Cancer Society Relay for Life is actually something that we support nationwide, and it runs out of our offices in Wyomissing. All right, a little bit on the Hollywood Casino York and the development. Kevin touched on this a little bit, but we did win that first auction. And back in the previous year, in 2017, the expansion of gaming here in Pennsylvania, they allowed for up to 10 of these mini casinos. And they could be located anywhere within the state, provided there was a 25-mile buffer zone around the current casinos in Pennsylvania. Where we are located, obviously we're sort of out on an island with the one at Penn National Racecourse. The rest of the facilities are really on the east coast and the western part of the state. And they have almost about a 120-mile radius where they can cover because they overlap. We were out here on an island and looking to protect our market share and also see where we could grow. And ultimately, we identified the borough of Yo as a place to point our pin. And the reason of that, not because we want to build in Yo, but where you placed that pin was very important. Because from that pin, you then had a 15-mile radius where no one else could compete against you. So there were a lot of maps, there were a lot of circles, a lot of pins in December and January. And when you actually went to bid for the license, you had two envelopes. You had one envelope with the amount of your bid, and then one envelope with the location. We have no idea what anyone else bid, but we are very happy that we won the license for $50.1 million, $100,000 more than the $50 million we spent for our first license here in the Commonwealth. So. At that point, once that pin was down, I quickly reached out to the chamber here and others and explored many locations throughout York. I know you've probably read about them all in the newspapers and all the different places we're looking. Ultimately, as you all know, we selected the York Galleria. Frankly, the existing infrastructure is ideal, the ability to reuse that facility, and so we're really excited with that choice. We'll go into what we're preparing to there. As you see here too, we submitted to the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board on September 12th and then had a hearing in Spring-Sperry on November 1st. Project overview, so all in it's about $120 million total budget. That includes that license fee. Now we are going to have a single phase, 80,000 square foot project. It will be on the lower level of the facility. We will open with, or plan to, 500 slot machines and 24 table games. So we're going to build to the max size that you can have for these mini casinos, which is 750 machines and 40 tables. And frankly, we just want to see at the end of the day what the market can withstand and what's out there. We'll have a casual restaurant with dining and bar, a lounge with a small stage for local acts, a grab-and-go grill so you can have quick lunch-type food. We'll have our race book that currently is on 30. We plan to move that within the facility. That will also be where we hope to have a sports betting facility as well. And the target open is sometime in 2020. At this time, we're still waiting on some approvals from the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board. So just to put everyone's perspective, so you know where the Sears is there, that's where that circle is. We'll be on that bottom level. Here's how it looks today. And this will be the plan. If you look up over there on the right where the pylon is, the idea would be to have an escalator that will come down, and there'll be a single entrance point under the portico here, so folks can park either up on the high end or on the main level. On the back end view here, not too exciting to look at, but you'll see there on the left-hand side, that's where employee entrance will be, and where deliveries can come in. This is the floor plan that no one can see. So we'll go by colors. So the mustard color is where the tables and slot machines will be. The large purple blob in the middle is the location for the restaurant and lounge. The small little purple off the side would be the grab and go, and then the brighter orange would be where the sports book and the off-track betting will be. The dark gray is all back of house. On the parking side, you can see here, we think, and any of you have been there, there's plenty of parking there now. We think we'll have plenty for our customers as well. So as part of the process, you have to do a transportation impact analysis on what you're expecting to bring in. So just a couple points here. We brought in a company to do a comprehensive level of service plan. We've identified 11 intersections, I guess, were studied in total. We studied on Thursdays and Saturday peak hours were analyzed, and we planned on a trip generation that assumed a max build out of 750 machines and 40 tables. We found acceptable levels of service with the following recommendations: some changes at Whiteford Road, York Galleria entrance, and optimized signal timing in a couple of the other areas. We're still working with township officials in Spring-Sperry to continue to address this, and ultimately at the end of the day, the goal is we want our customers to have ease of access, ease and out, and we don't want to affect the community around us. Economic impact. So on the construction side, we expect to have, because it's more of a adaptive reuse, not as many on the construction side, but about 75 jobs and about 36.2 million in upfront expenditure costs. On direct, indirect, and induced impacts, you're looking at the numbers here: 41 million for Spring and Sperry, about 14 million in earnings of 271 jobs. York County at 60 million, supporting 400 jobs in 19.8, and close to 70 million and 22 million in earnings for Pennsylvania. On the operations front, so here's what we expect to have. You mentioned 500 slot machines. You'll have a mix of real and video and various dominations. A lot of penny slots, actually, you'd be surprised. Penny slot is still the most highly demanded slot out there. 24 table games with a variation of blackjack, craps, and roulette. As I mentioned, the sports book and pari-mutuel wagering, the restaurant, bar, and stage and grab and go. On the employment front, we do expect to employ up to 200 full-time equivalent positions. As Kevin mentioned, on the benefits side, we have a slew of benefits that we offer, as you all see up there, and also offer in-company training for table play. And as I said, representative of the community. That's why we're working with the chamber and others in the community here. We really want to hire where the need is. If you look on the staffing side there, it really is broken down in a variety of different aspects, but a lot of folks, they do think it's just, food and beverage and someone, working a table game. It's not the case. You have marketing, you have IT, you have HR, security, etc. The one-time economic impacts expected on the operations front for Spring and Sperry is about 60 million, supporting 156 jobs. I could read through all those, but I don't want to bore everybody, so you can see all the numbers. I'm happy to provide this to the Rotary. Local impact, Kevin stole my thunder, but yes, it's about 1 million annually is what we expect to the town of Spring and Sperry to be getting. And on the public safety, working with police, fire, and EMS to address any concerns that they may have. We hear this a lot in our industry, folks who haven't had a casino before think, well, you're going to bring all this crime and prostitution, all these terrible things, and they compare you to Atlantic City. Frankly, it's just not the case. We are a highly reputable company. We're publicly traded. And if you go to any of our properties, our top concern is always the safety and security of our customers, because otherwise they won't come back. And so we actually hear in a lot of communities, you get a lot more calls to the Targets and the Walmarts that you'll ever get from any of our properties. So just to, well, I guess I took away my last slide right there. So to the point, we are really excited to be coming to York, and we put our signature brand on this facility, the Hollywood. We have about 14 of them. Of our 40 facilities are Hollywood. We expect it to be representative of the high quality operations that we have across the country, and I think at the end of the day, Spring and Sperry will be proud, and York County will be proud. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have. Yes, sir.
Can you explain the physical layout somewhat? Did you buy the Sears building, or are you renting that from the Galleria people?
We are leasing it.
What happens with the second floor?
Second floor is not up to us, so we are blocking up just on the first floor, and I know that Kevin and I were just talking about this, working with CBL and others, on how to reuse the rest of that facility. Ben, I don't know if there's any more you've heard.
I'm sorry, did you say you are renting the space?
No, we are renting we only are going to lease the bottom floor, that first floor. CBL will have the rest, yes. Yes, sir.
There were some new restrictions that came out on, I think, interstate gaming and so forth, and betting across state lines.
Yes, the Wire Act.
Has your company analyzed that and its possible impact on your operations?
We have, and what he's speaking to is the Wire Act. There was just an analysis came out that said you cannot bet across state lines. And with sports betting, which has become legalized now across the country, it's become an issue. We're still looking at it. There's a lot of confusion around it. Ultimately, with sports betting here in the state, we'll look to most likely have to build servers within the state of Pennsylvania. But there's also questions now that are going to have to deal with lotteries, for example, Powerballs that go across state lines, and what's something known as a wide area progressive, where you'll have a slot machine in different places. So it's relatively new, still working with it and with various agencies. Yes, sir.
The new Gold's Gym that's located right in the same facility, will that be affected by the casino?
I don't think so. Anyway, I'll tell you, when you consider the customer visitation and how it works at a casino, it's not like at a baseball stadium or a major concert where everyone's coming in at one time. It's folks coming in ebb and flow, and frankly, they tend to come on the off-peak hours. They're not folks that are coming during work hours. So we don't expect to see any difference. Yes, in the back?
Are there any plans for the current off-track site on Route 30? Henry Nixon asked me to ask you.
He did slip me his card, so not that I'm aware of right now. I think we're still waiting to get our final approval from the Gaming Control Board to proceed here in New York before we make any moves there. Yes?
As far as expected revenue per location here, I know that the 4 locations in Ohio have relatively similar revenue. Do you expect anyone here in New York to have similar to your other Pennsylvania locations?
I think there's still a lot of moving parts in this too, right? And so it's tough to identify what that revenue will be. There are still, frankly, 5 licenses out there at these mini casinos that the Gaming Control Board could decide at any time to open up for. We are confident enough to invest $120 million in the facility, so I think we'll do okay there. I don't think, just frankly due to the size, it won't see the same revenue numbers that you see at Penn National Racehorse or the Meadows that we own out. Yes, sir.
How do you handle smoking in a facility like this?
So there will be smoking, and the state law is that you have up to 50% of the facility will be non-smoking. So that's one of the things you got to work through with high ceiling ventilation systems, and to ensure that you can really cater to all of your guests. It's something that we address everywhere, and it is a concern. Yes, Kevin?
Jeff, can you speak to the VGTs and relationship with runners?
Sure. So as part of that expansion bill that I mentioned previously, back in October 2017, they allowed for the introduction of up to 10 mini casinos. It legalized online gaming, which is also caught up to the point about the Wire Act, is something that they're dealing with. Sports wagering, tablets at airports. They added everything they could think of, I think. And then also allowed for VGTs, video gaming terminals, up to 5 of them at licensed establishments similar to truck stops that meet a certain criteria. So they have to sell 50,000 gallons of diesel, they have to have 3 acres of land, they have to have 20 commercial parking spaces, et cetera, et cetera. In the Commonwealth, there's about 120 maybe of said locations that work. And just to backtrack a little bit, the concept came from the state of Illinois. Illinois back in 2009 legalized these video gaming terminals, not just at truck stops, but at every bar and tavern, and anyone with a liquor license in the state. And today, Illinois has 11 casinos with about 20,000 slot machines total, and 30,000 of these machines, VGTs, in flower shops, in gas stations, all over the place. And so it got a little ridiculous, but to that point, we operate 3 casinos there. We ended up seeing a big reduction in our revenues, and so we had a decision to make as a company in 2015, publicly traded, what do you do? So we actually bought into one of these industries, and we now operate about 1,800 of those machines. So now we got into Pennsylvania, the law allowed for these VGTs at truck stops, and who meet that certain criteria, and so we said, well, it's going to be legal here. We want to at least bring our expertise to the industry and try to keep some of that money here in Pennsylvania rather than to the Illinois companies who had come into Pennsylvania to try to pass this law. And so for the last year or so, been out there trying to meet with these various companies, and proud to say a couple of weeks ago that Penn National agreed to provide these machines for runners. Working with Scott Hartman and his team at various locations throughout Pennsylvania. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yes, could you talk a little bit about how we're going to support the community and what the process is for nonprofits?
Sure. So the question was, how would we support the community and what the process is to do so? So in the interim, I'm your first stop right now because we don't have staff in place and others. So we have 2 different ways that goes about it. One is the Penn National Gaming Foundation, which we started in 2005 when we lost one of our facilities down in Hurricane Katrina. And ended up, keeping our employees paid for about 3 or 4 months until we were able to back open. But through that foundation, which can be found on our website, pngaming.com, you can go in and apply for grants that way. Separately, each of our properties has their own budget that is specifically to be used for local nonprofits and local organizations. And our target is always for places that, less than 10% of it is for overhead, and the rest of it goes, towards the nonprofit itself and the operations. As Kevin mentioned, I serve as a president of the board for Mary Shelter in Reading, which addresses women in crisis and need a place to live, no place to go with a baby on the way. And it's important to all of us, and that's why we get involved in it. It's across company-wide, so happy to help. Yes, sir?
You mentioned table games. You didn't mention poker.
Yes, there will not be a poker room. I apologize.
We're not going to be on TV.
You can visit our poker room up in Granville if you'd like. No, end of the day, it's the law states what you can and can't have, and poker's not one of those. Yes, sir.
Is there any impact that you're expecting on the Galleria Mall moving in there? Because it's a fledgling property at this point, based on your other facilities.
Yeah, I will tell you, I think they can expect a lot of suitors to want to come in there. I mean, we're guaranteeing a lot of visitors coming into the, coming there, hundreds of thousands. And you look at other models similar to this. It's a larger one, but Maryland Live, which is down on I-95 between Baltimore and DC, that mall has blossomed and boomed, and they've got hotels there now and all sorts of stuff. I think, I can't speak for CBL, but I'm certain that they'll have folks that'll be interested to come in and take advantage of that. Ladies first.
You had mentioned that people usually travel 1 to 2 hours to come to a casino or in that vicinity. What about hotels for this location? I know it's a mini casino, but as other mini casinos, do they normally have hotels affiliated with them or around them? I was just thinking through that area, and I can only think of 1 or 2 that are right there.
Sure. So just to clarify what I had said previously, I think currently anyone in the country can get to one within 1 or 2. Here it's a little different because there's so many casinos, I think, on the eastern seaboard of the mid-continental. We are not building a hotel, but we are going to partner with the Hampton and others to provide that opportunity. And that's where you want to find the proper synergies and cross-marketing programs you can put together. So I met with the CVB and others and Carrie Ritz over at Hamptons specifically. How do you find ways for folks to come back, right? I mean, because if you can gamble anywhere, right, you want them to experience the location itself. So these smaller facilities, you tend to want to, to be more outward facing. So it's, trying to get them to come to a Revolution game and package deals together. So hey, now they do want to spend a night here. They don't just want to come in for an hour or 2 or take a bus in and have lunch and play for an hour and leave. So there are lots of different ways that it works. And like I said, we've got 39 of our 41 are in regional markets. So we've got a lot of experience in trying to get creative. And that's where, though, you want to have those local partnerships and folks that know what works. I know we went and met with Exposition Center folks. I mean, they had some great ideas. So happy to take them. Yes, sir.
So typically, how long does the flurry of initial excitement last, in terms of weeks or months, of first-time visitors? And then as you settle into your ongoing state, what do you consider to be the likely range of daily visitors?
So it differs on every property, right? But I mean, that first few weeks, it'll be crazy. And Ben, I wouldn't lie to you. I mean, those first 2 days, traffic's going to stink, and we're all going to hear about it, right? It just happens. But then you go through probably about 2 or 3 months, and you may see some dip from that first month of big revenue numbers coming in, right? And we have to start to identify customers, and then get them within our system and market to them and come in. I think generally it's 6 to 12 months until you start seeing a leveling of what to expect. Now, it could be a little different here, right? Because we have been the only game in town, north, at Penn National Racecourse, so we already know a lot of these customers. It's now going to be how do we compete with the Maryland casinos and keeping folks from going downtown to Baltimore and instead of running north, an extra 30 minutes.
So once you settle in, what are you expecting to be your range of daily visitors?
I honestly couldn't tell you at this point. I mean, it's publicly traded too. I can't make that guess.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm not sure that you're the one to answer the question, maybe Kevin could. With this new influx of revenue coming into the county, can any of us expect to see any property tax relief?
You take that one.
We'll just give you the tax money. Choice decide where it goes. Yes.
So along those lines, maybe a scotch easier to answer. So you obviously have a culture of generosity in helping the communities in which you work. Have you ever considered offering an opportunity to participate in that via your customers that are winners?
I don't know that answer, but that's a really interesting concept. Okay. Saw one over here earlier. Yes. First, one right here, sir.
So you talked about traffic impact. Really, it's Route 30 and Route 24 that to get to that property. What do you expect in terms of outside the parking lot and nearby intersections? What's the impact of Route 30, Route 24? Have you done any studies regarding that?
You know, those are studies that are being done now, and we're still working with Spring-Sperry to ultimately identify what is right. I know Ben and I were talking about, you know, sometimes the turning right off of 30 may not have been counted initially. So still working on it. All of that will be available publicly. I will tell you, just from experience, it's not what you think it will be. It's not, you know, we're not building a Las Vegas facility here. I mean, it's an uptick of a couple of cars a minute. I don't think it'll be a major difference that folks will notice. Yes, sir.
As for the restaurant, any expectations?
As in what to expect?
Yes.
So I would expect somewhere, you know, you're going to want to cater to multiple audiences there, right? So you'll have probably $15 to $30 price point. You know, what we have at a number of our Hollywoods, and this hasn't been decided here yet, but we have a place called the 99 Hops House. So it's sort of like a brewery. No, we're not brewing our own, but we serve 99 different types of beer, good burgers, or steaks, salads, etc. And then, but with an open concept, so folks can also enjoy the live music that will be done on the floor. Behind you.
Pardon me if you've already mentioned this, but what are the hours of operation?
So it'll be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Day it opens, hopefully it won't close again. Weather, obviously, at times. And frankly, to the weather point, you know, that is another reason why we like to hire locally. Our idea is to get 90% of our employers within 10 minutes, right? And so, absolutely no pressure.
Jeff, when you hosted the Economic Alliance the other week for the tour, one of the things that struck me was how serious you take underage gambling. Can you share the couple of comments you made that night?
Yeah, so there is no bigger problem for us than someone that should be at the facility that they should not be. And so security, number one, at the doors. And you'll notice, you know, we only have a single main priority. A lot of the reason for that is to keep underage gamers out. And so not only do we get fined considerable amount, but that is a terrible, you know, thing that we should never be allowing these folks anywhere access. And so we don't market to kids. We don't even, frankly, partner with organizations that has any sort of tie to them. We're happy to give them support. We don't want our name involved. We don't have anything to do with it. It's more just for the betterment of the community. Right? Mary Shelter, the folks that work with young kids, Penn National's name's nowhere near it. And that is important because, number one, this is entertainment, but this is for entertainment for adults. Thanks, Doug.